Hey there guys, TMO73 here, bringing you another feature match for the week. Today I am featuring a couple of my friends from locals. James was playing a pretty interesting Charlotte list, and so I really wanted to show you that, and he happened to get paired up against Tyler, who is playing a red-green Sylvia. James's list is, if I recall correctly, 4-color, and he calls it Clown Car Charlotte. Just because of the fact that he just keeps spamming the board with more and more creatures, and then refilling his hand with Charlotte, and then spamming the board with creatures, and then filling his hand with Charlotte. So pretty interesting. James is going to be on the play. He plays a Apollo and gets a Gusting Skies, plays Elvish or Sacred Elf, and then plays a Bow, which is good against Agro, right? If Agro drops a 1-drop, Swiftness creature, Bow can usually answer it. Tyler's looking at his hand, deciding whether he wants to get aggressive or try to get some draw power in there. Seeing the Bow, it's probably best to do, just that. Get the Guinevere out there for some draw power. James taps for a stone. Gets another Gusting Skies there. Plays the Mana Ramp Bunny, one that can sacrifice for a moon or a wind. And then just passes the turn. So he's just spending his time here trying to kind of ramp up for things like that. Tyler taps for a second stone, hits a Blasting Waves, plays the Rook Egg. And out comes a Flames Right. So Tyler's just working on kind of establishing a board at this point. He can't really swing in because of the Bow, but he does attempt to swing in even though there's the Bow. But James is just going to take it. That's fine. James is probably saving it for something a little bit more aggressive. So 200 damage comes in. At the end of Tyler's turn, he's going to flash in the Melfi. And that's what you see happening there. They got a little bit ahead of themselves. Taps for stone, hits a Ruler's Memoria. Out comes a Cheshire Cat, the new one. He's going to use the Melfi to swing at the Flame Sprite to try to kill it. Tries to block with the Rook Egg, and then it gets bowed by Artemis Bow, so that's going to die, but Tyler gets to go in and grab a Fire Resonator, and then Melfi's attack is going to go through and kill the Flame Strike. So already here, it's kind of interesting that Clown Car Charlotte has a more aggressive creature state than Red-Green Sylvia. Just the fact that James got a pretty strong start. He's already ramped well ahead, and he's got things like Apollo and Bow and other stuff to be able to help deal with Sylvia. Even though he doesn't have flying, having that Apollo available against Sylvia is really, really helpful, because it means that you're going to be locking him out of the flip and kill something, which is really good. Out comes that Prisia Pursuant of Exploding Flame from Tyler. He's going to try to kill a Melfi. He's going to just bounce it back to his hand with the Apollo, which makes a lot of sense. And Tyler can't really do anything else at that point. At the end of the turn, that Melfi's just going to come right back in. He's going to draw for his turn. Plays another Cheshire Cat. He's going to use Melfi and his 1 to play Charlotte. So he's going to get to draw 4 cards. He gets to gain 4 life. He's got that high-speed dash in his hand. That was kind of an awkward draw off the Charlotte. He got like Apollo, high-speed dash, and 2 Wallowinds. Apollo's going to come out, which is nice, because now he's got a flyer in Sylvia to be able to stop Sylvia. Got a flyer in the form of Charlotte to be able to stop Sylvia. He's going to attempt to attack the Prisia, and Tyler's going to respond by sacking it to Guinevere, dealing 500 damage to James. At that point, James is going to... So that's an interesting play. So he's using his 2 creatures, his Sacred Elf and his little bunny, neither of which can get killed by attacking into Guinevere and just killing Guinevere. So that's actually a really smart move. You know, he only gets to use that 1. There's no way for Tyler to Judgment next turn because he only has 3 stones. And now you've kind of cut him off from his draw power, which is really, really smart. One thing to note here is that even if we see something like Lancelot or something like that, he has lots of blockers to be able to deal with it. So like there's the Lancelot, right? When with Cheshire Cat, he can block with Charlotte just like that. Charlotte can't really kill him, but he also can access use something like Cheshire Cat and like pump them up using the cards in his hands to be able to block it. At the end of the so second Guinevere is going to come down from Tyler, and James is going to sack his little bunny to produce green and Wall of Wind that, which is really smart. Going into his turn, he's going to gain a life for drawing a card with Charlotte, and then recover. He's going to tap for another stone. So he's got that deep wood. Plays 3 for his own Prisia. And then he's going to swing at Lancelot, which makes a lot of sense. It's just going to go ahead and get killed, because there's no point in really him blocking with the Guinevere, because of the bow, and he wants to be able to draw cards. The 2 Cheshire Cats are going to swing in. He's going to take 1,200, put him down to 28. I don't necessarily understand why James didn't go ahead and use Cheshire Cat's ability to exile some cards to get that extra damage in, because then on Tyler's turn before upkeep he could just bring them back. So it kind of missed out on 2 damage there, especially since Tyler was tapped out, so there was like no way for him to kill those Cheshire Cats. So you can like exile the 2 cards, get the extra 2 damage before draw on Tyler's turn, get those 2 cards right back. So you know, that's something he could have done. Tyler's going to go ahead and flip. He's deciding what he wants to target. He's going to go ahead and, like I said, use the Apollo to dodge the Sylvia kill. He's going to attempt to kill the Cheshire Cat. Maybe. He's thinking about whether or not to just attack James' face or go for a creature. Going for a creature is definitely the better play here. Going for face is not going to do much just because of how much damage he's going to take after the fact, and he needs to try to recover some stones by killing that Cheshire Cat. He is actually going to go ahead and decide to attack James directly for that. So James is going to take that damage. There's really no reason for him not to. 28, and he's going to keep recovering life every turn. So plus Tyler in that sense then just doesn't have access to his other stones. So at the end of the turn, James bounced his Prisia back to his hand and then used Cheshire Cat to remove it. Again, it's the same kind of concept. He wants to try to pump up those Prisias. You know, he can get that damage, then bring the Prisia back to his hand. Also, before upkeep, he's going to high-speed dash his Charlotte. And so this is that concept of like refilling his hand, refilling his hand. He uses high-speed dash to keep bringing Charlotte back to his ruler zone, and then like flipping her again and drawing a bunch of cards, and then high speed dash and flipping again and drawing a bunch of cards. It's a really interesting concept. I really like it by comparison to other Charlotte stuff. Keeping her safe, or just kind of spamming her ability to draw your hand back your hand, or refill your hand. So he's going to swing in for 700 with the Cheshire Cat that's pumped up because of the Prisia. Now that that damage has happened, he's going to use Cheshire Cat to bring the Prisia back to his hand. He's going to tap for a stone. He's going to play the Prisia. He tapped his stones wrong there. He needs to tap for red somewhere. Oh no, he's got the Ruler's Memoria. So he's going to attempt to swing at Sylvia. He's seeing if there's any blocks from that Guinevere. He is going to attempt to block with a Guinevere. It's going to get bowed and killed. And then he's going to flash in a Melfi, which is going to make it so Sylvia doesn't do any damage at all this turn, which is really crazy. So Sylvia's going to take 700 damage there, and then he's going to take another... Oh, he's going to swing with the other Melfi that can attack, so that's another 300 damage. So that'll be 1,000 damage to Sylvia, and so at that point Sylvia will be dead and has no way to protect itself, give itself imperishable or anything else like that. So Sylvia's just been locked out for the game. He can still produce green with his redstones, but just because the new ability ruling for ruler side, but he is never going to be able to do judgment again, which is pretty crazy. So pretty strong play from James there. He does have access to blue mana still with Charlotte to be able to tap something down, so swiftness isn't necessarily a huge thing at this point. And he's got a Wall of Wind in his hand, so this game is slowly shifting more and more towards James's favor, especially since he has so many creatures out on board already. Plays 3 for an Athena. He attempts to go into combat. Let's see if James decides to try to tap it down. He is. He's going to use the Charlotte and the Melfi to tap down the Athena, so he can't do combat with it. We're going to see that Guinevere come out. And then we see Flame Strike come out. He's gonna go ahead and Wall of Wind it. Get that out of the way now. Guinevere's not really much of a threat, neither is Athena. He's only got one card in his hand, so at this point it feels pretty confident that James is gonna try to flip again, refill that hand and get some more cards. Yep, and there you go. We're gonna see that. He's going to draw another 4 cards, refill his hand, gain 4 life. Double Percival, Sacred Elf, Melfi. That was a pretty good draw off the top there. He's going to get to go digging for some Regalia or another Knight of the Round Table. The only thing he can grab there is the Artemis Bow, but that's still really good for him against red aggro. Plays the Artemis Bow. He's deciding what order he wants to put those in on the bottom with the Percival. He's going to swing in for 7. Attempts to block with the Guinevere, and he's just going to bow it. And at that point, Tyler just accepts and admits defeat. There was really no coming back from where that was. He was taking a lot of damage on board. Yeah, it was pretty much over at that point. So going into game 2, Tyler's probably hoping to get a little bit of a faster start. He wants to be able to put in damage a little bit earlier before those flips from Charlotte get just out of control, and the board state gets just out of control. So let's see if he can pull it off. You saw Tyler mulligan away the Flame Sprite. That's probably a good call for him. He can't necessarily, especially if James drops a bow fairly early, it's not really going to be super effective. And so he's maybe hoping to draw into something a little bit more top end on his curve, especially since he had Guinevere and Rook Egg. He can just grab a Flame Sprite if he needs it. And it works out for him perfectly because James on his first turn just drops a bow, so that Flame Sprite was pretty much never going to get anything. That face down card that you see there is going to count as the Energize token for Charlotte. He's going to play a second bow, which is really devastating for Tyler to see two bows right off the bat. And then he's going to play Sacred Elf, so already starting to ramp ahead. Out comes Rook Egg from Tyler. There we go. Now we've got a counter for the Energize. Now, if I'm Tyler here, I use one of those Demon Flames to kill that Sacred Elf. You gotta keep that off the board. It's one of the things that James had to his advantage last game was just how far ahead he ramped. And so I definitely think that's something that you do, or you do it now at the kind of end of turn, before he can do anything with it. Especially since you have a second one in hand. At this point in time, probably don't grab that Lancelot. He does have the Rapid Growth in hand, so he's probably trying to do like a next turn, Rapid Growth into Lancelot to be able to burn some stuff out. Discards the Rapid Growth, which feels a little bit like a waste, because then he only gets the one. And he is going to go ahead and Lightning Strike the Sacred Elf. I would use a Demon Flame there. Lightning Strike is reach against his opponent at the end of the turn. Plays Melfi in response still on his turn. It'll still die, but at least now he has the Melfi access. See a Leviatine there for Sylvia. Out comes the Leviatine. The problem here is because he got that Melfi, now he has access to Waterwell, so he can just discard a card and prevent combat with that Lancelot. And this is one of the reasons why I said discarding the Leviatine, or discarding the Demon Flame. Sorry, my bad. Discarding the Rapid Growth was not really the best option because he only has one chance now with that Rapid Growth, as opposed to using it twice because of the Remnant ability. Sometimes it can feel like you want to discard Remnant cards because you can use them again, and it's technically not discard at that point, but it is because you're going from 2 uses of the spell to only 1, so sometimes it's not always the best. So again, he just has to pass the turn there because he knows he gets tapped down if he tries to do the Rapid Growth, so he just has to pass, and that feels really rough. Charlotte's going to go ahead and tap for Stone, hits Blasting Waves. He's going to go ahead and play a Red Riding Hood. There's no reason for him not to. He gets to ramp ahead if it dies, and if it doesn't, he keeps tapping for Stone, it just becomes more powerful. Cheshire Cat's going to swing in, and he's going to play at the end of the turn, he's going to attempt to use Demon Flame on the little red. That's going to get Wallow Winded, which feels really rough. He's going to attempt to rapid growth the Lancelot. In response, he's going to discard his high-speed dash and tap down the Lancelot with Charlotte. So again, now that it's pretty much locked out, it could be a good play in the sense that he has that Prisya in his hand now, so he could, play the Prisya and get something off the board. But the problem is 2 bows, and so they're just gonna kill Prisya as soon as she swings. So Artemis Bow is a really, really strong card against red, particularly now, especially when you have decks that are just running so much hate in their hand for resonators anyway. But double bow against a red aggro deck is particularly vicious. So draws for turn. He's going to go ahead and do Judgment. Reason for that is he still has 2 will open, and this way he draws 4 more cards, gains 4 life. Plays an Apollo. He's got a flying Charlotte, but he can also, play around the Sylvia if it comes out next turn. He's going to attempt to use Cheshire Cat to kill the Lancelot. Needs to RFG a card first. He RFGs his little removal bunny, so that it won't be a trade. Cheshire Cat will be a 7/7. Tyler's thinking about whether or not to sacrifice the Guinevere to that. He just decides to let the Lancelot get killed, which is probably a good idea, because if he doesn't, if he did tap the Guinevere to sacrifice the Leviathan, or sacrifice the Lancelot, he was just going to lose the Guinevere from another attack as well. James plays a Percival, grabs another Percival off of it. So again, we're already in this place where the clown car is already pouring out onto Tyler's field, and he's just playing creatures faster than Tyler can keep up. Even with Sylvia having that raw aggression, eventually he's just going to run out of steam, and James is just going to keep rebuilding steam. And then Apollo off the Percival was really, really strong. He's got the ability to kind of sacrifice stuff and protect stuff. He's got the bows, and he can bounce something in response to Sylvia and make some strong plays. Reason why you're seeing them cut their deck there is they had a situation with Tyler looking at some extra, accidentally looking at 2 cards when he drew his card for turn. So they were just kind of fixing things there. He's going to go ahead and play Sylvia. He's going to attempt to target the Charlotte for 1,000 damage. I'd probably just let that happen if I'm completely honest. That's kind of a misplay for Tyler, because Percival's just going to protect it from all that damage. And then he doesn't have to lose his flying blocker, so now Sylvia's not going to be able to kill anything. It is in fact going to die if it does decide to swing, because he can block with Charlotte and then deal an additional 800 with the 2 bows. Now he'll be able to have Imperishable because he has the Leviathan, but it's still very, very less than ideal. He's going to swing in with the Prisya. That is going to get bowed. He's going to take 500 damage from that. And he is going to swing in with the Sylvia, and he's just going to block with the Charlotte, who can't take any damage and has flying. So Sylvia doesn't get to do anything there. So again, Tyler's gonna start getting more and more swarmed as James just plays more and more creatures, draws a card, gains back up to 4k life. Plays 2, plays a Melfi, and then plays a Percival, which is perfect for him to be able to protect and keep just blocking against Charlotte, or keep just blocking Sylvia indefinitely. He grabs another Percival, which is probably the right call, because at this point, if he uses the Percivals, kind of looping like that, he can just keep Sylvia at bay pretty much indefinitely. And if that happens, then he just wins, because he's just going to start chipping away with all of his other creatures. Tyler's thinking about whether or not to take the damage from that. He's going to go ahead and block with the Guinevere, and, James is like, that's fine, you can lose your Guinevere. He Demon Flames the Cheshire Cat because it's taking the damage from the combat with Guinevere, which was really smart by discarding a Leviathan to produce that will. And in response, James is going to pull back that little bunny from his RFG zone so it doesn't get killed. It's going to use the the Melfi that can put a creature on board to bring out the little bunny, which makes sense. It's will for will at this point. I still think if I'm James, I swing in with the little red. It's free damage. He actually is going to attack it into... Okay, so there's a little bit of a misplay. So he attacks it into the Sylvia, and so Tyler should technically have some stones recovered. Doesn't really matter because all he has is 2 creatures in his hand, but that is just something to remember, guys, that if Sylvia kills something and it hits grave, then Sylvia gets to untap some stones. Out comes the Lancelot. It's going to attempt to swing, and in response to the swing trigger, pump it up for a grand. It's going to try to burn. James is responding to the rapid growth cast. Potentially. He responds to the rapid growth cast to bounce the Lancelot back to his hand. He could also use double blow to just kill the Lancelot before the rapid growth resolves. Either one works just fine. And again, with the double bow, with Percival, with Apollo, there's really no way that Sylvia gets damaged through. So out comes a third bow for James, which is pretty much just means the game is over. You did gain another life for drawing a card. He's going to pay 5 for Behemoth. So now we're in real trouble, because if Behemoth, Tyler has to start blocking stuff, or even if he does start blocking stuff, he's still going to take all that damage from the Behemoth. So he has to figure a way to kill the Behemoth. And then James is going to go ahead and play another Percival, and he gets an Apollo off that. Which now Charlotte has double flying, but he can also, he can use 1 and still be able to block the Sylvia. Not that it matters, because he has triple bow, and so the 3 bows can just kill Sylvia outright. but still something to keep in mind. Plays 2. Plays another Lancelot. Play 1 for a Guinevere. Even with the rapid growth, like, none of that damage is going to go through. His best bet would be to pump up Sylvia to a 14-14, and even then, Charlotte still blocks and he still takes 12 damage, and it still kills him. If he tries to rapid growth the Lancelot, the best option would be to rapid growth Lancelot now, so it is a 10-10, but he still gets, probably triple bowed or something like that in response to his attack or anything else. Just not good options here. So he's gonna go ahead and rapid growth the Lancelot and attempt to swing. He's gonna target one of the Melfies, which is gonna get killed by the burn damage. And then he's gonna block. I would imagine that if I'm James in this situation, he just accepts the damage and goes down to 32, and then or get 31, and then draws a card. They missed on their little tracker on the screen there. They missed a life gain, a couple of life gains. That's why the numbers are different. And it makes sense. James is totally fine in all that situation, so he can accept the damage, no problem. He's gonna attack the Lancelot with the Beast. I don't know why he did that. I feel like I would just push damage to the face. Because again, if he blocks, he's going to take out that damage anyway. And in this way, he didn't have to get his attack whiffed because he just sacrificed Lancelot to the Guinevere. He's going to swing at the Guinevere with Charlotte, which is just fine. Again, he's locking Tyler down to only having 3 cards. He's got cards in his hand available. He's got Melfi. He's got Percival to protect. He's got Bows, Apollo. Just all kinds of protection here. Tyler's going to play Flame King Shout, which would eliminate both of the Percivals, but he's going to sacrifice one Percival to protect the other Percival, which is just fine. Out comes that Athena. Already had Swiftness, but he's at a point where he can just play everything from his hand anyway, so we might as well. He's going to attempt to swing, and he's going to bounce it back to his hand with Charlotte. There's really there is no point for him to swing with Sylvia. I would, but the problem is he can't tap it for stone because then the behemoth just kills it. So Tyler's unfortunately at a position where this game is pretty much unwinnable. But let's see how James finishes it off. Gains another life, goes up to 33. Plays the 4th bow. Yeah, it is very super much over at this point. There's really nothing that he can do. Swings in for 15. He's gonna just take the damage, go down to 16. A little transition there. They needed to get a die, and Tyler at the end of the turn sacrificed the Guinevere to try to draw some cards. Looking at his hand, he's got a Flame Sprite, a Priscia, and a Rook Egg. Looking at a board of 4 bows, 2 Obalos, a Charlotte, a Melfi, and everything else. And he just says, nope, there's no way I can win. So he's going to go ahead and scoop the match. That's the match, guys. Let me know what you thought about it. Comment sections down below. Deck profiles will be up this Friday and Saturday. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe as always. And until next time, this is DMO73 signing off.